Hello and welcome. This is my analysis for episode 2 of season 2, The Last of Us. Damn. Even if you know what's coming, it's still. Fuck. Everybody's out. There's parties out scouting. Joel and Dina, Ellie, and I never can remember the dude's name. Used to be Dina's boyfriend, but he's not anymore. I cannot remember his name. But anyway, they're out scouting different groups, like it's 2x2x2x2. Meanwhile, back in Jackson, they are discussing what to do in the case of an infected attack. Because we're finding out, yes, there's infected in the snow, but it turns out underneath there are living affected, using the bodies more or less to help shelter and keep them alive, so that when the time comes, oh, the infected are clearly evolving. Episode 1, we saw they were able to hide. Now we're knowing they're staying in shelter. Yeah. It is crazy. Meanwhile, Abby and her friends are discussing how to get into Jackson to find and kill Joe. They've got now a daylight view on what the place looks like because they're staying up in this lodge up on the hill. And they get a look down on the city, which is surrounded by wooden palisades, a wooden fence, wall, if you will. Yeah. They send Abby out to keep watch because the guy says he's got a plan, he just needs time to formulate it. And it turns out, yeah, he's got a plan. Tell Abby to forget about it, and so we can head home. I just need to figure out how we can do that. She ends up sliding down the hill. And when she stands up and looks, she's amidst this field, this snow ice covered field, and sticking out of it are body parts of the dead infected. But of course, the snow starts moving. And they start coming to the surface. She runs. She manages to get inside this area underneath the fence. They come around the other side of the fence, and now they're like leaning on the fence, and the fence is slowly starting to push down and pin down, and she's now no longer running it beside the fence and the wall of the building. She's having to crawl because there's no space left. She manages to get out, but an infected has managed to finally break through, and it's chasing her, going after her, and it jumps on top of her, and boom, bullet through the head. Joe kills the infected, shoots one or two more. It's coming. Go, go, go. And he shoots her into the building they're staying in, covering her with his pistol. Closes the door and bars it, but he knows it ain't gonna last. Checks her, says, "You alright? Have you been bitten? What's your name? Alright, we need to go." So he's with Dina. Now, the other scouting parties have already checked back with Jackson. Joel and Dina haven't. There's a bad winter storm going on. And I don't know if it's just the signals aren't getting through or what, but yeah. Anyway, Joe puts Abby on the back of his horse, and the three of them ride out there with this horde now chasing them. Because it's just increasing, because all these other infected are climbing out of the snow and joining. Meanwhile, as they've been setting up defenses in town, they've also been doing some other work, and this guy breaks open one of the pipes, and he sees, it looks like dead branches, almost. Puts the mattock to it, pulls out some of it, and sees some of the ends of it moving. It's the infected vines. All these infected that have been chasing Joel and Dina and Abby, they keep chasing, but it's like all of a sudden they turn down this hill, and on the other side there's a whole slew of them coming, and they like kind of join into one big horde, and they're making their way right for Jackson. Right for the town. When the guy finally sees it, he announces the warning, and so they start ringing the bells, telling everybody, positions, position, rooftops, basements, lock the doors, get ready, get ready. Essentially, many of your women, kids, are going to be in basements together, doors locked, barred. So they're not only in the buildings, if they've got basements, they go down to the basements and lock themselves, bar themselves in. Meanwhile, everybody else on the rooftops. They have the guns out, but those at the wall prepare the first line of defense, because the infected are now so close they finally slam into the wall. And the first thing they do is they let go barrels full of some combustible. I'm assuming it's gasoline, maybe kerosene. I don't know, it's just some combustible. So they're full, the large barrels. They have essentially chutes that lean out forward, and they roll the barrels down, they go out, and poof. And so, of course, when they're landing, if they hit a infected, they're going to kill it, because it's so heavy at that point. Coming down at a fair speed, so yeah. Now, as they've hit the ground, and these infected are still charging at the wall, but other people are still firing at them, kind of keeping them somewhat in check, they fire into the barrels. And you see the liquids spraying out. I say it's gasoline or kerosene or something like that, because it's a clear liquid. It doesn't look anything like diesel or petroleum. So after this, they light torches, throw them out among the infected and the barrels. Boom, 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 boom. Fire, explosions. Yeah. It's a clever first defense, I gotta say. But, yeah. But finally, we get a big fella. They've still been shooting because, like I said, this is a horde. Think all the droids in early Star Wars, in the prequels. Though that kind of numbers, just en masse. Not in straight lines. En masse. But anyway, Tommy heads towards into the streets to get ready for the next phase, because they've done what they can do. Now the infected are getting ready to breach the walls, especially with the big dude. As soon as they finally do inflood the normal sized infected, while the big one's just making his way. Boof, boof. They have several people lined upon the rooftops, just firing away. There's supposed to be Tommy and 3 other guys standing there with flamethrowers, but as the mass comes on closer to them, 2 of them chicken out and run. So it's Tommy and 1 other guy. They're sitting there with the flamethrowers. Lighting them on fire. Yeah. Tommy gets worried that the big guy's targeted his wife because she's been firing from the rooftop shots into him, along with several other people, because they're trying to take out these infected from the rooftops. Though some are now breaching some of the buildings and making their way to rooftops and attacking. So Tommy, he pulls out a pistol and he takes a shot at the big guy to get its attention. He's like, come on. He gives it another shot and puts up his gun. He leads it away and finally just with the flamethrower full bore, he's barbecuing this sucker, but it's still going. They go around the bend of another building and Tommy's ready for it again, and he gives it another shot from the flamethrower. And he's just holding the button down, trying to put as much into it. You can see it's got an effect from the flamethrower, and it comes closer and closer, and all of a sudden Tommy's up against the wall. His back's against the wall. He's got nowhere else to go to. And you start seeing the gauges in his flamethrower. And you hear the gas. Yeah. He's out of fuel. And he's late. He falls back. The thing is just making its way towards him. And it gets right to front of him, and it's like, yeah. He survives. By pure fucking luck. Meanwhile, Joe, Dina, and Abby take Abby back to this lodge. Because they don't know who she is. And they all go inside, trying to warm up. Dina's got some frostbite on her hands, and so the one girl's like, I'm going to put you to sleep for a little bit. We got to take care of that. And so Dina's asleep. But the guns are trained on Joe, and so he's not moving. And after a little bit of discussion, Joe realizes the connection to the Fireflies. Abby's father was the doctor that was getting ready to do surgery on Ellie. And Joe just straight to the head. So yeah. After Joe realizes who they are, he's still quiet for the moment. And Abby looks over. And she's like, I always wondered what I would do. Well, before this point, while Dina's out, they've unloaded a shot into Joe's leg, causing him to fall to the floor. He isn't rolling around, but he's like, ah! And she tells her friend to tourniquet the leg, because she don't want him to die yet. So they put the tourniquet on his leg. So he's got the gunshot wound in his leg, but it's got a tourniquet on it. But Abby starts to try to go into her monologue. I always wondered what I would do as she walks over to the corner, and there's this golf bag with golf clubs in it. And Joe's like, if you're going to do it, just do it and shut up. Because Abby's wanting to do her little soliloquy and tell Joe why. And he's like, just kill me and get it over with. At that point, she grabs a driver. Not a putting iron, not a 4-iron. We're talking a full out driver. This is with the big head. So Dina's out, drugged out code. Joe's been shot in the leg, and now Abby has a driver. She goes over. And she just starts beating the ever-loving crap out of Joe. But since Joel and Dina have not checked in, Tommy's getting worried. And so Ellie and that guy's with her, they split up to go look on different sides of the mountain. Meanwhile, in Jackson, they've had to unleash trained dogs that go for the throat of infected and everything else. And so they're cleaning up the messes, killing the last few of them, and unfortunately having put down any that have been bitten, because they show one person holding his arm up and it's got the teeth marks on it, and the guy in front of him takes a moment and then yeah. So while they have survived, it's still been a tough event. But they don't even realize what's going on with Joe. But as I said, by this time, Ellie and the other guys split up. Ellie comes across the tracks going up the hill towards the lodge. She gets up towards the top and she sees Joe and Dina's horses. She gets off, pulls out her pistol, slowly making her way into the lodge. She can hear sounds, but she quietly makes her way upstairs. Quietly opens the door to a picture. No one's even noticed her yet. Joe is beaten bloody on the floor. He's not moving. Ellie rushes in, is like, not thinking, just emotion. They disarm her, pin her to the ground. And the one guy tells Abby, you need to go ahead and end this now. The driver she had, the head's no longer attached to it. It's just the metal rod at this point. She walks over to Joe with it and drives it down into his neck. It looks like it's in his neck is where it looks, but yeah, upper back, that kind of area. He's no longer moving. Ellie's still pinned down and she's like, I'll find you, I'll fucking kill you. Fucking kill you. Yeah. The one guy comes by, just gives her a hard kick to the gut to shut her up. They all grab their things and go, and Ellie is curled on the floor. She crawls her way over to Joe. She, she's got the tears streaming down her face. She's like, Joe. She goes up next to him, grabs his hand, lays her head on him. They start playing the ending song. And it's like, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I have no fear. I can't remember the exact words, but yeah. It's just a little, I don't know who sings it, but yeah. And while it's playing, it shows the five of them looking back at Jackson as they leave. And the guy and Dina are both there now. They're awake, each one of them on a horse. Ellie's on the same horse as that guy. She's crying. She keeps looking back because connected to the horse is a rope. And connected to that rope is Joe's body in a sheath, or he's wrapped in cloth, more or less. And so they're dragging his body that they've since wrapped. But yeah. And at that ends the episode. The gruesome moment has been done. This was a good episode. It really was. There's so much that goes on. And of course they do the end credits and show the previews for the next episode. Oh. Yeah. Things aren't going to get any better from here. But we'll go ahead and end this episode here. It's already been over half an hour long doing a review on it. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.